welcome back to the channel and welcome back to episode number 6 of building a 650 wheel horsepower Honda D16 engine. It's been about 2 weeks since I posted something, and I promise you it's all because of good reason. We've partnered with we've partnered with a shop out of Arlington, Texas, Alamo Motorsports. They have a all-wheel drive dyno in their facility. They have in-house machine shop, so they're a dart and sleeve installer. They carry AEM, comp cams, ARP, Bosch, Cometic, Dushworks, Haltech, Honda, Manley, CP, Skunk, you name it, they have it. Very good shop. They're located in 1218 Colorado Lane, Suite C in Arlington, Texas. Phone number is 817-860-4300. When you call in or when you stop by the shop, ask for my buddy Jacob. Jacob is, he reached out to us, very knowledgeable guy. He's actually one of their in-house machinists. He is a dart and sleeve certified installer. He does very good job. So Jacob, you know, whenever my guys go out there, just treat them like royalty. Now, Jacob is also the president of the Civic EE and EF Club of Texas. Like, you know, I've always been a CRX guy. I've always been an EF guy. So we joined the club. They're actually giving us shout outs, and everybody in that club is following my build very closely. I've actually acquired some parts from a couple of their members. Very good, very knowledgeable people. Civic EE and EF of Texas. Subscribe to their club. Join their club. They do a lot of good things in the community. Now, for what we came here for today, we're going to talk about D16 pistons, D16 piston options, and let's start from plain old Mr. Stock piston. Now, like everybody knows, the D16 piston, the D16 engine, the problem area is the rod. It's not actually the piston. So, you know, they range anywhere from, you know, 921, 925, 929, depending on the block head combination. Now, as far as my use for the stock piston, I've turboed one engine with it, and I know I've mentioned it before, hit like 200 horsepower, and after that, the piston was okay, rod bent. So like I said, problem area there is going to be the rod. I've actually thrown a 50 and a 75 shot of nitrous to them, shaved the head to 40 and ran it naturally aspirated. It's a, you know, it's just a stock piston. I could tell you this, as far as keeping your vehicle stock or with you know, bolt-ons, headers, intake, cam gear, stuff like that, this is an engine, this is a piston that will last 300,000 miles without showing much tear and wear. Actually, this is a P2P piston, which is a stock D16 Y8 piston. This engine had just a little bit over 212,000 miles, and you know, piston is great, rings are great, so it's a very reliable piston. You're not gonna make any power with it, but if you're planning on just having a nice little Civic, you know, that looks good, you know, it's headers, bolt-ons, I wouldn't go past it. Now, for the least expensive option, we're gonna have two companies, which is YCP and Nippon Racing, which is the famous Vitara build or the famous P29 build. P29 being naturally aspirated, and the Vitara being the turbo option. and let me show you what they look like. Now, let me tell you what the first option and the option that I actually like, the option that I've actually used on numerous builds that I've done for me personally. I've actually hit high fours with this combination. There's people out there that claim to have reached higher numbers with it. Is the YCP piston. The YCP piston is the YCP brand piston. They offer the P29. They offer the Vitara piston, and what it is a piston made of a material. It's ACHA. Is the aluminum that they're using. You know, if you talk to both manufacturers, which I've actually done, the ACHA, it's a metal that carries a lot of recycled materials in there, and quote unquote that was said by the competitor, which is Nippon. And I did some research on the material, and actually, you know, it carries. What they'll do is they'll mix about 15 different alloys in there. Why this combination works and why the Vitara build became famous, in my honest opinion, is very simple. The Honda enthusiast was looking for a full floating option to try to solve the rod issues. Meaning, this is a non-floating piston. If you look, the piston doesn't float in the rod. The rod is actually attached to the journal, and it's not going to move anywhere. So what that creates, it's a heat point in the piston rod connection. Now, when you go to the Vitara, and this is not a Vitara piston, but it's the same concept, you go to a full floating piston. Or let me rephrase that, a full floating setup. What it does is, now the rod floats in the journal. So it has, if you see it, it has better lubrication. So that's how we became very, very prone of using the Vitara piston. Other reason is, piston lowers the compression once again, depending on your block head combination, you should be in the 8.4s, 8.5s, 8.421, 8.521, something like that as far as compression. A little bit harder material. It requires, because of the change to a full floating, it requires aftermarket rods. Everybody, or forged rod, aftermarket rods, whatever you want to use. So that's why we have been achieving 500 wheel horsepower since, I'll tell you this much, I did my first Vitara piston when I was 19 years old, just had graduated high school, had my first Honda CRX, which is the one that I still own. We threw in Vitara pistons, I think it was Eagle rods at that point, and a turbo kit, and we were hitting that thing like there was no tomorrow. Now, couple of issues with the Vitara piston. The Vitara piston is a 75 millimeter piston, but when you put it on a D16 engine, there's two things that happen. The piston sits about 3/10 lower than the base of the cylinder. So once again, your compression is going to be much lower. Second thing is the way the ringlands are set. The piston doesn't sit there. The piston doesn't sit there. It doesn't fill the sleeve the way regular D16 is gonna fit. So if you use a 75 millimeter piston, when you turn on the vehicle, it's gonna sound like it's broken, like a something. It's gonna sound just like a diesel. If you look at the sound of like a TDI, a diesel Jetta, or a diesel engine, it's gonna sound like that till the engine reaches operating temperature, which the rings are gonna expand. There's gonna be expansion due to temperature, and the piston is gonna start sitting incorrectly. So you turn on the vehicle, the piston is gonna kind of shake. Nothing too alarming. Actually, when I was 19, I used to love that sound. After that, that sound will go away. So my recommendation, if you're gonna use that that Vitara piston, is bore to 75.5, and use a torque plate. Reason why? Send them the pistons, they bore it, they're gonna bore it perfectly to that piston specification. So you're not gonna have that sounding issue, which is, like I said, it's nothing to be alarmed, but your compression rings are gonna seal a lot better. Okay, the second option in that same Vitara build is Nippon Racing pistons, which they're actually, I've been doing some research. It seems like it's very, very, very hard to get Vitara pistons outside of the internet. Everybody knows by now I live in Texas. I was trying to get a set of pistons to do this video. I looked for about 4 days and I couldn't find nobody or nothing locally that had them. Two reasons. Suzuki is no longer in business in the US, is no longer in business. So I guarantee you YCP and Nippon Racing, all of their Vitara piston manufacturer, that same cast is most likely for Honda users. Okay, so I actually ended up ordering a set from who I believe is the same guy I used to buy him when I used to live in Puerto Rico, 20 years ago. They came in, the order, I did it through eBay. When as I was paying, I saw that it was coming from Cabo Rojo, Puerto Rico, which is, close to well, everything in the island is close, but they're coming from Puerto Rico, and he's all over eBay. He actually does very good packages, pistons, rings. You could do king bearings, he'll include gaskets, oil pumps, so on and so forth. So you could actually get a full bottom rebuild. Vitara pistons, I don't think I found one with rods, but hey, rods are inexpensive. For about $279, you could get your bearings, head gasket, so on and so forth, if you don't want to do nothing too fancy to the vehicle. Now, back to the pistons. Second company is Nippon Racing. I've actually, a lot of people have reached out towards them, and I found a lot of information in the web. I actually reached out to a representative in the US, and this is what they claim. They claim they're using a 2618 alloy, and I say they claim because I've never used the piston, okay? I've always used the YCP. So Nippon claims to use a 2618 alloy. I did some research on the alloy. It is technically harder than what YCP uses. Nippon claims is about 15 times harder. They claim their piston is as hard as a JE forged piston, which, hey, we've been hitting 500 horsepower on YCPs, you know, who knows? I've never actually used the piston, but from the specifications and from everything, the piston is going to have the same situation with the deck height, and it's going to have the same situation with the ringland area. So my recommendation, if you are going to use this setup, back in the day, going 75 and a half, you still had to send your engine to the machine shop, because you were going to have to notch the block for the rods. Now there's two companies nowadays that are two companies that I found, and one that I've actually done business with, that do a extended length or a longer rod, but we'll hit that on the next episode. So Nippon is going to have the same exact problem as the D16. So 75 and a half, regardless of if you're going to use that extended rod, that longer rod that we're going to be talking about on the next episode, or if you're going to be using Eagles, still use the 75 and a half, you know, honing the block. Figure if you're going to be building a D16 engine, you're going to find something that's going to be high mileage. Honing the block is not going to is only going to do you better. So 75 and a half or better. In fact, I wouldn't go over 75 and a half. In my high horsepower build, I'm not going over 75 and a half. So 75 and a half is enough for all the power that you know you can make on a daily driver. Now, Nippon and YCP offer a high compression piston, which is the equivalent of a P29. And I know a lot of people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but that's the recipe too. Those 150, 160, you know, 180, and even those that claim they're doing a buck 90, 200 on their vehicles, it's a P29 piston. It's a high compression piston. Of course, everybody that's dealt with a D16 knows all the power comes from your cylinder head, but P29s, which is same casting, same everything, it's just going to be a high compression piston. And when I say high compression piston, I've tried it, guys. If you throw a shot of nitrous into a P29 piston, it doesn't matter how much timing you retard, it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to destroy them. Because you're going to be, depending on your block head combination, you're going to be pushing a lot of compression. Now, talking about head and piston combinations, I'm going to drop a link down there, down in my comment section, to a compression calculator that I use all of the time. It's about the best compression calculator that I've found, and I've used it. I think I want to say the compression calculator started to calculate just what a mini-me swap was going to get you. Now you have all the data there, K20, B16s, of course the D series engines, J's. You have it all there. Basically, you're going to input what piston you're going to be using, if you're going to be using a custom piston, what the compression is, what's the size of the piston, what rod you're using, what head, what block, what crank, and it's going to give you a very accurate end result. So the least expensive option is going to be either a P29 or a Vitara piston. Compression, once again, it's very hard to tell because every combination out there has either a D16 A6 block with a D16 Y8 head, a D16 Y8 block with a D16 A6 crank and a D16 C6 head, so on and so forth. But the principle of the build, cost effective, is great. 500 to the wheels on a turbo setup, it's very common nowadays. On a naturally aspirated, 150 to the wheels, which in a D16 engine, 150, 160, 172, it's fast. Okay, so that's that's my take on the inexpensive build, D16 YCP Nippon, Vitara or P29. You could get them, like I said, most of the manufacturers that I've seen, you're gonna be getting them on eBay, or there's a couple of other vendors out there that have them. So that's about it on the, that's what you get on the least expensive. Now let's move on to a forged piston. Okay, so now to the forge options. There's 5 companies out there that I think are worth mentioning. They're basically, most of them I've used. There's one of them that I haven't, and it's because they're a brand new company. They're a newer company, and I never had any luck contacting them. But let's start with JE and Wiseco. JE and Wiseco are basically the same company. I've used JE forever. In fact, this piston that I'm holding in my hand, both of them are JEs. This is 77 millimeter custom piston that we got for our D16 A6 engine. We've used this for a while now. Just to give you a quick overview of them, I've actually used JE on my Hondas. I use Wiseco on Eagle Talon that a friend of mine and I built a while back. So basically the JE, reason we were using it, they were the top, or they probably are, they're still the top manufacturer out there. The one that everybody used, and then one of the only things movies like the Fast and the Furious got right is if the professionals are using it, or at least if the professionals are advertising it, people are bound to use them. And 19-year-old me, was using what everybody, what everybody used. I remember, and I think till this day, Steven Papadakis is one of the racers out there that uses JE. Now, the reason I used JE and Wiseco is because JE has been around for about 70 years. They started creating pistons for like NASCAR and stuff like that. They do offer a lower trim piston, SRP. They are actually the same. They build them out of the same alloy Nippon Racing or Nippon claims to build them. It's that 2618 alloy. So I've never used the SRP. I think the SRP is something a little bit new, but their turnaround time on a custom piston, back in the day, it was great. You could get the whole process done in about a month, which is, in the custom piston industry, it's great, because remember, there's going to be testing, there's going to be a lot of factors are going to take into consideration there. Now, 2 things that they do is they also do a skirt coating, and they do a crown coating, which you could get as an option from them. Now, whenever you get the pistons, guys, It's gonna be something, you know, a shiny piston, okay? Remember this, a shiny piston, it'll work, okay? But the better piston is gonna be a coated piston in the crown and in the skirt. Why? There's a couple of things. Coating in the skirt, it's going to reduce the friction in your sleeve. It's basically heat expands, creates more friction. Okay, a good coating is going to make your wear and the metal particles in your oil a lot less. Okay, coating in the crown, what it's going to do is it's going to help disperse the heat evenly throughout throughout the combustion cycle. So if you don't wanna, because they tend to be kind of expensive, if you don't want to have your piston manufacturer coat, or you buy something out of the shelf, which is what I did, and I'll get to that in a minute. Just have it medium blast, walnut blast, soda blast. Try to stay away from sandblasting. Sandblasting is gonna, you know, create little particles on your pistons that are gonna come and bite you in the end. But a walnut blast, a soda blast, take all that coating off and coat them. I mean, take all the shine off, make it nice and dull, and have them coated. Okay, I am going to do, remember, Matt Media now, it's a DIY channel, so I am going to do a video of me actually coating this exact pistons that I'm here, because these custom pistons are the ones that I'm going to be using on my CRX. Okay, the CRX, we're going to be running 77 millimeter custom piston with a shot of nitrous. So this thing is going to get coated. I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to show you how to bake it, so on and so forth. Now, remember, JE Wiseco, just about the same company. An ISO 900, an ISO 9000 shop. So that means they're highly certified. They're 70 years in the business. They do offer that little cheaper SRP piston. They do skirting, they do the skirt treatment, they do the crown treatment. I've used them many years. There's a reason why I went away from it, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Now, when you go to Wiseco, it's basically the same type of coating that they use. They call it Armoglide. It's basically same coating, different material. And Wiseco also offers a lot more motorsport pistons and whatsoever. They'll do dirt bikes, even though JE does too, but they'll do dirt bikes, boats, so on and so forth. So same company, just different attention, different demographics. Okay, now next up I want to talk about Arias pistons. Use Arias off the shelf a couple of times. Arias, actually, when you call them and when you go to their website, they tell you what are their forgings. They use a 4032 forging, and they use the 2618 forging also, which is again the same alloy that Nippon Racing uses again. So there might be something to what Nippon is doing. Now, as far as Arias goes, use their off-the-shelf product. At the end of the day, it's a forged piston. Nobody, there's not too many of us making the amount of power it requires to not justify using these. Okay, so JE, once again, I'm very fond of them. I'll use them again. Wiseco, same thing. Areas, same thing. I do think Areas quality has gone a little bit down though. So, like I said, my first choice will be JE if I'm going, custom or whatsoever. Now, there's a company out there called Tron Pistons or Tron Pistons, however you pronounce that. They're a custom pistons manufacturer. Okay, I've actually reached out to them several times. I'm guessing their owner or the vice president or whatsoever was the general manager or the shop foreman or whatsoever, the founder of Areas Pistons. That's why I feel like Areas has, they've kind of gone, they're over the hill a little bit right now. But the same way I said it, the same way I'll say the rest. I've actually reached out to them because my original plan for my my high-power D16 engine, the one that's going in the Civic, was going to be a custom piston. Okay, reach out to them several times. Once got an email from them stating that their back order was, 2 months. I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter. Let me send you my drawings. Let me send you what I want. Never got a reply from them. Okay, talking to several of my friends. They're a great company. I don't have enough information on, don't have enough information from them to tell you that they really are. I know a couple of the guys running those very fast K20s, couple of the guys running the naturally aspirated Hondas are using them. From their website is a little bit vague. They seem like a legit company. I know BZ Visoria did a tour of their shop. Their shop looks great. I still thinking at some point I'm gonna reach out to them and see if I could use them for some other build, because their product looks like quality, and they have the experience behind them. Now, to what I chose for my build. I actually chose a off-the-shelf piston. Since I couldn't get my piston made by Tron, I didn't want to go to JE just because I've used them before and I wanted to try something new. I went with the CP pistons, so Carrillo pistons. I went with the SC726 series on on a 75.5 millimeter piston, 9:0:1 compression ratio. Okay, of course my head work and all that is going to raise that compression just a little bit, but nothing over, nothing over that 9.5. Now, after talking to all these manufacturers, after talking to many builders and whatsoever, after actually talking to Carrillo and talking to my guy at Real Street Performance, remember I've done before getting into the partnerships that I've been getting, I was purchasing most of my stuff from Real Street. I have a great relationship with them, and they they give me great pricing and they're willing to price match. So after talking to them, they were the best bet. One of the things that I actually liked about the piston, very simple. The piston comes with the dry film on the skirt already, so there's nothing you need to do there. The coating is optional, so I decided to do it in-house. But they have dual pin oilers, meaning What I mean with the dual pin oiler is wrist pin, right? Where the clip goes, instead of one oiling hole, there's going to be two in there. Okay? Second thing that made me like it even more is their square design. Meaning, by using that square design, they can push where the clip for the wrist pin goes back. Okay? By doing that, it gives you a lot more surface for the pin to actually hold the wrist pin inside the vehicle. I mean, inside the piston. So, full floating pin goes a little bit back, dual oiling port. Okay, dual oiling port and thicker pin. So guys, that's why I chose CP pistons. Now let me show you what like I said, and you guys know this, my engine was completely done when I decided to start vlogging this situation, you know, this whole build. But this is what my piston looked after media blasting, after doing soda blasting and ceramic coating. Check it out. Now, just to give you an idea of the cost, MSRP, or at least Real Street Performance, offered the piston. Their MSRP on it was $679. Okay, I bought my pistons and my rods from them at the same time, so I got a little discount. So if I look at my receipt, and I'm gonna post it, here it is. So if you look at the receipt, it's going to be $679 for the CP pistons. It's going to be $393 for the rods. Total of $1,072 with 84 cents. They price matched, so they gave me a discount of $160. So everything came out to $920.84, and of course, if you look at the shipping charge, the shipping charge was free. So $912 for rods and pistons. I feel like, you know, that's a heck of a deal. Now, guys, remember, this is just a lot of technical stuff at the beginning. I am going to assemble the block. I'm actually, like I said before, my engine was fully built, so I'm going to be showing you how to do rings, bearings, assembly, torquing, so on and so forth on that D16A6 that I'm going to be building for my CRX, and take into consideration it's the exact same thing as I did with the 650 wheel horsepower. So next video, we're going to be talking about the rods, what rods that I chose, why, if there was any special treatment to them, so on and so forth, and we're going to continue. So guys, hopefully you like what you see. Hopefully you're following this trend. Sorry for taking 2 weeks to get this video up and to you guys. Hopefully my winner of my Real Street Visa gift, my Real Street gift card already got it. If you haven't gotten it, send me an email so I could get you, I could get you situated. Everything was set up. There's another sweepstakes coming pretty soon, so stay tuned. Remember, go visit Alamo Motorsports. My buddy Jacob, he'll treat you guys like kings, and subscribe to join the Civic EE and EF of Texas. They're a great club. They have about 3,000 members last time I checked. You know, they'll accept anybody that's willing to bring serious information about, you know, engines and whatsoever. So go join them. And of course, this is Man Media TV, a channel for the DIY racer, for the do-it-yourself racer. So subscribe to my channel, like us on Instagram, like us on Facebook. There's a lot more information, and of course, we're not only going to be building Honda engines, or we're not only going to be building D16s, we're going to be building more engines, and we're going to be adding, guys, we're going to be adding a DIY feature of the month at the beginning. After that, I'll do it probably on a weekly basis. So if you live in Texas, and you have a build that you want to showcase in this channel, contact me at manmediatv@yahoo.com. See if we can work out something so we could interview you, showcase your vehicle. You tell us everything that you have on your vehicle. What did it take? If you did it in your garage or whatsoever. And I'm talking about true do-it-yourselfers, do-it-yourself people. I don't want nothing coming straight out from a shop. Of course, if you had help from a shop, but you did 80% of the work yourself, heck yeah, let's go for it. I'll make you guys a deal. Find me some good cars and I'll get your car detailed. And featured on the channel, okay? So guys, subscribe, Man Media TV, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Thank you guys, and let's wait for episode number 7 coming soon.